Do you know people like this? Or maybe you are one of them yourself. When someone goes in for a hug, and instead of warmth, tension appears inside. You want to step back a little, tighten up, end it faster. And from the outside, this is often misunderstood. Cold person, doesn't like people, closed off, emotionless. But here's what's interesting. Very often, people who don't like hugs actually feel a lot, sometimes even more than others. And today we're going to talk about how the psyche of people who struggle with physical touch really works. Why, for some people, a hug feels like relaxation and closeness, while for others, it feels like overload, tension, or loss of internal control. And most importantly, why this does not make someone bad, cold-hearted, or incapable of love. Physical affection is not just a personality trait. It's a very deep story about the nervous system, boundaries, body experience, and the way the psyche perceives closeness in general. Because touch is one of the oldest forms of human connection, and the brain reacts to it very strongly. There are people for whom a hug is automatically registered as something warm and calming. Their body relaxes, tension drops, a feeling of connection appears. But there are also people whose psyche reacts differently, not because they are wrong, but because their nervous system perceives intrusion into personal space much more sensitively. And this is very important. Some people literally feel another person's presence more intensely on a physical level. Someone else's warmth, pressure, smell, movement, skin contact. And for their brain, this is not always relaxing. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Imagine this situation. Someone unexpectedly hugs you, and instead of automatically feeling, "This is nice," there's a split second of tension inside. Your body doesn't have time to prepare. Your shoulders stiffen. Your breathing changes. A person may even smile on the outside, while internally already wanting the contact to end faster. And afterward, many people feel guilty. Why am I uncomfortable? Why do other people love hugs, but I don't? But the issue is not that the person doesn't love people. Very often, the issue is how their psyche learned to perceive closeness. Psychologist and attachment researcher John Bowlby wrote extensively about how our sense of safety around other people is formed not through words, but through bodily experience. Through the way adults interacted with us in early childhood, how they held us, how they responded to our yes and no, whether they noticed when we were scared, uncomfortable, tense, or overwhelmed. Because for a child's psyche, these are not just small, everyday moments. They are literally the nervous system learning whether contact with people is safe at all. Not every child was hugged in a way that felt comfortable to them. Many children were never even asked whether they wanted physical affection. Relatives squeezed them, kissed them against their will, forced them to sit on laps even when they stiffened or tried to pull away. And adults often considered this completely normal. Why are you so tense? Go hug your grandmother. Don't embarrass me. Don't be so cold. For adults, this may seem like a small thing, but for a child's psyche, it sends a very strange message. Because the child's body literally feels, "I'm uncomfortable. I want to move away, but I'm not allowed. My no does not matter right now." And in that moment, the nervous system becomes confused. On one side, there is family, love, closeness. On the other side, the body feels tension, pressure, intrusion into space. And so the psyche begins creating protection, sometimes very quietly and invisibly. The child simply stops relaxing during physical contact. Their shoulders automatically tense. They freeze. They tolerate. And most importantly, they slowly stop listening to their own bodily signals. Because if saying "I'm uncomfortable" changes nothing, the psyche gradually stops even trying to protect boundaries directly. Then that child grows up, and as an adult, they may not understand why hugs feel difficult, why they instinctively want to step back when someone suddenly closes the distance, Why even next to someone they love, the body still stays slightly tense. Intellectually, they may understand, I'm loved, I'm safe, but the nervous system still reacts according to the old pattern. Because the body remembers not logic. The body remembers sensation. And this is where one of the main reasons for non-tactile behavior appears: heightened boundary sensitivity. Because for some people, a hug is not just contact. It is a very rapid collapse of distance, a very strong invasion of personal space, especially when there is little inner sense of safety. There's another very important point. People who dislike hugs often grew up in emotionally restrained environments, in families where love existed but was not expressed through the body, not through hugs, touch, tenderness, or physical warmth, but through actions, through care, through control, through "I do everything for you." For example, a child may have been well provided for, bought things, helped with school, had problems solved for them. But at home, there was very little physical softness. Nobody hugged them just because. Nobody stroked their hair. Nobody sat quietly beside them. There was no feeling of relaxed physical closeness. And so the psyche grows up with a very strange internal understanding. Love means responsibility, help, obligation, but not bodily warmth. And here's what's important to understand. The brain gets used to what repeats. If a child never became accustomed to safe physical affection, their nervous system simply never forms the automatic association. Hug equals calm. For them, this is not a natural language of love. It feels unfamiliar, sometimes even slightly foreign. That's why, as adults, people may genuinely love someone while still feeling awkward during long hugs, not knowing how to relax their body, not knowing where to put their hands, or automatically turning things into jokes, pulling away, ending physical contact quickly. And many later think, there must be something wrong with me, when in reality, the psyche is simply speaking a different language of closeness. And what's interesting is that many of these people become extremely functional in relationships. They take care of others perfectly, solve problems, take responsibility, help through actions. But when it comes to physical softness, something inside tightens up, because the body was never taught this form of connection. Psychotherapist Bessel van der Kolk wrote extensively in The Body Keeps the Score about how the body stores emotional experience no less than conscious memory. And this is an incredibly important idea, because the nervous system remembers not only events, it remembers the state in which a person lived for a long time. If a child grew up in constant tension, needing to be convenient, quiet, emotionally controlled, not upsetting adults, the body gradually adapts to living in alertness, tight shoulders, shallow breathing, constant control. And even when a kind and safe person appears later in life, the nervous system does not know how to immediately switch into relaxation. That's why something very strange can happen. A person may intellectually understand, I'm being hugged with love. They know they are safe. They know the person cares about them. But the body still remains slightly tense, as if there is no full permission inside to relax. And this is not about lack of feelings. It's about a nervous system that has spent too long living in self-protection mode. And here comes another important thought. For some people, a hug is not just a cute gesture. It is a very high level of vulnerability. Because in a hug, the body stops being fully closed. There is openness, closeness, loss of distance. And if the psyche has spent years living in protection mode, even healthy closeness can feel unfamiliar. That's why many non-tactile people relax around others not through hugs, but through calmness, through the absence of pressure, through the feeling that their boundaries are respected. And the paradox is that it's often around these kinds of people that they slowly begin seeking physical closeness themselves, because for the first time, the nervous system feels, I'm not being forced here. I don't have to defend myself. And even more interestingly, many non-tactile people are actually deeply caring. They simply express closeness differently, through help, through attention, through actions, through presence. They may struggle with long hugs, but they will remember that you are tired, bring you medicine, help you in the middle of the night, solve your problems, because their love comes not through the body, but through action. And this is the most important thing to understand. Disliking hugs is not an absence of love, and not an absence of humanity. Very often, it is simply a different way of experiencing connection, a different nervous system, a different body experience, different boundaries. And yes, a person may love you very deeply while still not wanting constant physical affection. They may need distance not because they don't care about you, but because this is how their psyche preserves a feeling of safety and internal control. And perhaps the most mature form of closeness is not forcing someone to love the same way you do, but understanding that different nervous systems speak different languages. And honestly, are you comfortable when people hug you? Or do you sometimes want to take a step back too?